Oh, you. You're no hollow, Thank goodness. I'm done for, I'm afraid. My insides are damaged. I'll die soon. Hear me out, will you? Regrettably, I have failed in my mission, but perhaps you can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family, "Thou who art undead art chosen, and thine exodus from the undead asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know." Well, now you know, and I can die with hope in my heart. Now I must bid farewell. I would hate to harm you after death. So go now, and thank you.
A dying man in an undead asylum only revealed to you by a malicious attempt on your life, or perhaps an attempt to help you, leads the man on his deathbed to bestow upon you an item that would go on to become a staple in your journey, something you could literally never prevail without.
An Estus flask, an undead favorite.
The game doesn't tell us his name. We know nothing of his past or future. The only tell that gives us an inkling of who he might be is the Elite Knight armor he wears. Elite Knights are incredibly high ranking within Astora, and are mostly believed to be, in their majority, nobles. Aside from that, the path he wanted to take ended at the hands of the Asylum Demon. Considering how strong the other demons we face off later in the game are, and the fact that you start the game out as a hollow with literally not a single thing to your name, it's certainly thanks to him we are even able to kill it. He might even be the one who left you all those weapons, and a shield along that corridor. The Estus, the key, the weaponry all come from a dying prince in a last attempt to bring hope to a hollow barely clutching onto their own soul. This nameless knight crafted the chosen undead better than any primordial serpent could. This is the extent of his role in Dark Souls. We never meet him outside of the asylum, and upon our return, his soul has died and turned him hollow, leaving us with no choice but to put this pitiful prince to rest. However, he survives for much longer in the data mine file of Dark Souls. Really quick disclaimer before I get into this next part of the video. None of the footage you are going to see of Oscar's questline belongs to me. It belongs to Crest on YouTube, and I will link all of their stuff in the description. Please do go check them out. Their channel is really, really interesting. All kinds of content from different from software games. But yes, as much as I wanted to do this questline myself, no such mod exists that solely restores this questline. The only ones I could find changed the game in a way that I just could not be bothered to sit there and play through a whole mod for one questline sort of thing. You can add it in with coding, but come on. I don't know how to code at all, so I had no choice but to use Crest's wonderful footage. Thank you so much, Crest. He would have left the asylum unscathed, most likely because the chosen undead killed the asylum demon for him, and met you at certain points in the game. You would go on to meet him for the second time at Firelink Shrine after ringing both of the bells. From this, we gather that Frampt summoned Oscar.
A pleasure to meet you. Sage Frampt has spoken to me about you. I am Oscar of Astora. I wish to thank you for ringing the bell of awakening.
Whether to put him onto your path or to have him there as a failsafe should the chosen undead fail, we do not know. And Oscar is friendly enough, but reserved in nature. Interestingly, if the player has rung both bells and spoken to Frampt before engaging with Oscar, we can note that Frampt may have disregarded him, as he states he could only wish to have a purpose like ours, which is to seek the kiln, and states his longing for a purpose of his own.
A pleasure to meet you. I am Oscar of Astora. I am told that you rang the bell of awakening and received the word of Frampt. That is a wonderful thing. We are all counting on you. I only wish that I had such a purpose.
Later, you would have crossed paths once again on your way to Sif, at the Darkroot Forest just outside the Crest locked door.
In search of the grave of Sir Artorius. But be careful. This forest is the territory of a fierce band of thieves. They assault any and all who seek the graves. What if we were to join forces? How about that? If we work together, we may escape the bandits.
where he would have helped you fight off the forest hunters that attacked those outside of their covenant. What I do find cool here is that he claims to seek Artorias' grave, but he never actually states exactly what for.
We don't need to band together anymore. I will have a short rest here. Feel free to go on ahead.
After this, you don't meet him again until you reach the kiln of the first flame, all the way at the end of your path. He awaits you on the stairs, revealing to have gone against you the entire time.
Foolish slave of the gods, and pawn of Frampt, I will kill you and become the true Dark Lord.
If you sought Framp's ideologies, he embraced Karth's. If the dark spoke to you better than the sun, Oscar found comfort of sunlight instead. No matter what the chosen undead did, your first enemy was always Oscar, Knight of Astora.
So it was you. I had a feeling. I shall destroy you as fate has commanded me. Foolish pawn of Darkstalker Karth, and fiendish Dark Lord.
The very same knight who set you on your path to greatness would end up attempting to prevent you from ever reaching the end of it. Whatever primordial serpent you sided with, whatever ending you would have chosen, he would pick the opposite, and there was not a single thing the player could do in their playthrough to ever prevent this from happening, without either killing him within the kiln, at Firelink, or Darkroot Garden. Yes, it is only because of Oscar that we can enter the kiln in the first place, but, interestingly, I think it is easy to forget his ambition was to be himself the chosen undead. Regrettably, I have failed in my mission. But perhaps you can keep the torch lit. Shows us this. In the asylum, Oscar thinks all is over for him, so he sheepishly passes his family legacy onto a stranger in a last attempt to make them proud, to make sure whatever noble Astoran bloodline he comes from continues in history. While he did rescue you, in doing so he was responsible for his own replacement, only to end up escaping the asylum after all. Such a realization must have eaten his soul inside out, to the point where the only way he could ever go back on his dying wish was to either kill you or die himself. He thought he could die with hope in his heart, only to find regret in his soul. In the base game, Oscar might not even cross your mind after the asylum, but in the data-mined scrapped questline, Oscar makes sure to be in your circle within the beginning portion of the game, and he wants to succeed just as much as you do, but cleverly hides his deception behind his closed-off nature. His will is to see you fall so he can thrive in your place, just as he was always meant to do. You must remember that it was never meant to be you. The kiln was always meant for Oscar, but he collapsed at the first hurdle. Oscar makes a choice, not out of what he believed, not for what would be the best for the world, but for his own ego, his own grand purpose after you stole the ringing of the bells from him, after you took his future and made it your own. Knowing all this, is Oscar really that much of an enemy? In my own opinion, not at all. I genuinely think Oscar is a good person who believed in doing what was right. I think he acted in a justified way, and everything in that cut questline makes sense. I would even go as far as to say that Oscar isn't malicious. He was desperate to claim that what was always meant to be his to start with. In a way, he's not in the wrong at all. In Dark Souls, the closer an NPC is to hollowing, the more impulsive and erratic they become, and the less they can see reason. You note this when the NPC seems like they're talking at you instead of with you. I think Oscar's cut questline shows this quite well. At the start, he allows you to continue on, when he could have just killed you outright at Firelink, and never truly lets you get close to him the same way Solaire or Siegmeyer do. Since he set you on the path, you end up taking everything that should have been his, like the Crest of Artorias, for example. You are the one to buy it from Andre before Oscar can, and so he can only sit outside the door, waiting and praying that you would come by to open it. He masks that desperate prayer behind wanting to clear out the forest hunters together. He literally could not go any further in his mission to kill you without you. Without knowing it, the chosen undead is forced to pick a side right then, Alvina or Oscar. Funnily enough, I think everyone would end up picking Oscar, as Alvina is pretty well hidden in the forest and many run right past her to start with, as she never makes herself publicly known, and she tends to blend in fairly well with the wall. This works well in Oscar's favor. We know that Oscar was aware of the forest hunters, as he literally warns you of them, and maybe this is why he planted himself outside of the door instead of on the way to it, or even at the undead parish bonfire. So the chosen undead would unintentionally go unaware of the Covenant's pact, Great Wolf Sif, and maybe even Artorias himself. Of course, this all goes out of the window once again when he doesn't take the chance to kill you in the now desolate forest. Oscar slowly spiraling into self-hatred, losing track of what he fought for, before finally lashing out when the chosen undead has truly gone too far because he could never find it in his soul to stop you prior to the kiln, is a sad story that maybe one of you watching right now could relate to. Putting someone onto something you've dedicated a lot of time, or your whole life in Oscar's case, only to find they end up being so much better than you is a heavy thought to live with. Oscar refuses to acknowledge his own insecurities and instead lets his soul deteriorate over it. He allows himself to think that the chosen undead is the reason for his failing nature. What is important to note about this cut questline is that despite all of this, Oscar isn't actually hollow at the end of his questline. Instead, it seems that he is just on the cusp of hollowing. Yes, you stole everything from him, but it's precisely because of that fact he refuses to go hollow. He must meet you at the kiln, even if he can barely comprehend his own thoughts. He absolutely must prove to himself his family was not wrong to place their traditions in him. He always chooses the opposite path of whatever path you choose, meaning that he would oppose you out of belief that it's the right thing to do. Oscar could have very much killed you at Firelink Shrine, or even at the asylum for that matter, but he allowed you to prevail on your own path. When he tries to kill you within the kiln, I personally think he only does so because he can no longer bear his own soul. He is so far deep in his wallowing, there is no more room in his soul, in his heart, in his mind for hate to even linger, and as such this hatred must manifest onto something else, and that closest something is you. Personally, I'm glad this questline never made it into the base game. The strength of Dark Souls' story is that it shows instead of tells, and the storytelling is as obvious or as vague as you want it to be. From Software thinks highly of the player base in this sense. Dark Souls' story is so well crafted, obviously, but because the players have the intelligence to piece it together so well, despite it never really being put in your face, that hidden storytelling gets to shine on new levels. Oscar's quest is very, very on the nose. The narrative is fairly clear, and in a way, this goes against the Dark Souls formula. It's a story about one losing themselves right in front of your eyes, and you can't do anything to help them.
Thou who art undead art chosen.
That is all that matters. Do not let your soul consume you.
Don't you dare let yourself go hollow, lest my time spent on you be wasted.